Today's show brought to you by Game Blazers, and I'll remind you of their single biggest weekly prize pool ever. It's coming up in just 2 weeks. $75,000 will be given away, all in free rolls during Week 9's mid-season madness, which means you have a few weeks to stock your inventory and stack your lineups. You can use promo code FFAD when you make your first deposit for a match of up to $100 and build your ultimate fantasy team right now at Game Blazers. And at Fanball, we build contests for real players, not algorithms. Say goodbye to those mass entry grinders and embrace the sweat with a shot at a payout, because fantasy sports shouldn't feel like a losing battle. Fanball.com is set with a full slate of Week 7 NFL contests, including a Thursday and London 5x5, and of course the Peacock, who pays out $1,000 to the top player. Check the lobby right now over at fanball.com. Let's kick things off with Less Than Jake.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
And with me today for our waiver wire episode, LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Famer. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm not a Hall of Famer, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like LT, but yeah, I'm doing good.
You have to be in like the something fantasy sport. Oh, is my internet weird?
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm not in any fantasy sports Hall of Fames at the moment. I don't think I'll ever be in a fantasy sports Hall of Fames, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. Anyway, we're going to plug forward with my stupid internet and keep going on today's show. We're going to talk about all the most valuable free agency pickups this week. And by the way, if you listened to this show last week, we told you to pick up Kamani Vidal, Bam Knight, Rico Dowdle, and Kendrick Bourne. I think we're on fire right now.
Yeah, we've even thrown in some tight ends that have done well in spot fills like Jake Tongas and whatnot.
Yeah, before we get to the waiver wire, let's go around the league and see the latest news.
News team, assemble!
Biggest news, Puka Nacua, day-to-day with an ankle injury. His status very much in doubt for their game in London on Sunday morning, real early in the morning, United States time, when they play the Jaguars.
Yep.
All right, I'll just rapid fire these. Brian Callahan fired by the Titans. CeeDee Lamb may practice this week. That's good news for people who have been reliant on some wide receivers that have gone down recently, like a guy like Emeka Egbuka, who's having an MRI today on his hamstring. The Bucs already ruled out Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin for the Monday night game against the Lions, but Mike Evans has a shot to return in this one. Garrett Wilson probably out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. They have a week 7 and week 8 games, and then they have a week 9 bye. But he did avoid a serious knee injury, but he's still probably going to miss a couple of weeks. The Jets, staying with them, they're staying with Justin Fields at quarterback, even though Aaron Glenn said he took a step back last week. I mean, when you get sacked 9 times. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's somewhat of a step back, but his offensive line wasn't doing him any favors either. And speaking of quarterbacks, the last news item, the Vikings haven't said who's starting at quarterback this week. My guess is J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell mentioned on the radio this morning that he doesn't know yet. They weren't even practicing. Neither of them were practicing in pads yesterday. They'll practice in pads starting today. And he should know, and he'll let people know by the end of the week who's starting. But they're both injured. Carson Wentz has a hurt shoulder, and JJ is recovering from that ankle. So we'll see later in the week, I guess. And you had a lot of other news that I probably could have commented on, but I like that you just ran right through them in case of internet issues.
Well, Scott's on a time clock today too. He's getting ready to go on a big trip out to Disneyland.
Yep. Yep.
And so if you're in Disneyland this week, you should just be on the lookout for Scott Fish.
Yes.
And he'll probably be doing some yeah, definitely with a shirt with your name on it. He'll definitely be doing disco dancing too to this song.
I wanna boogie with you.
These guys you might want to boogie with this week. I don't have any quarterbacks on the list of waiver wire pickups this week. It doesn't seem like that's the way you want to go, but we got to start with Kamani Vidal, who we told you to pick up last week. He went from like 2% owned to 35% owned, and then had a huge game last week, 21 touches, 138 total yards, and a receiving score. Haskins didn't do much in the game, 7 touches for 25 yards, and for 5 of the 6 games this year, the Chargers have had one back get way more touches than the other back. So it seems like they like to have a lead back, the main guy, and a change of pace guy only. Kamani Vidal seems like he's in line for the lead back role for now.
Yep. I would say with any other team, you'd start to wonder when Omarion Hampton gets back, does Vidal eat into that workload? But you kind of mentioned it. It seems like this is consistently a one back system with a little bit of sprinkling of the 5 to 10 touch nature for the second back. So yeah, Vidal should have it. We would think should have it until Omarion comes back.
We talked about Michael Carter and Bam Knight last week. We'll talk about him again here. Carter's 63% rostered. Bam is only at 9% rostered. And I should say it's Bam Knight, but his name is Zonovan Knight. And you might have to check how he's listed. Like on Sleeper, he's Bam. On MFL, he's Zonovan. So make sure you're looking for the correct guy. Noted Amari DiMercato had only 1 carry and 1 target last week. But people are probably thinking, oh, it's Bam Knight's backfield now because he scored a touchdown. But it was a split backfield. Bam had 12 touches, 54 combo yards, and a score. Carter had 11 touches, 64 combo yards, but did not score. And worth noting that Michael Carter had 5 targets to Bam's 2.
Yeah, Michael Carter is definitely the way better pass catcher than Bam. It seems like Michael Carter, Amari DiMercato got demoted after that fumble on the goal line, and Michael Carter took up most. You could argue Michael Carter's as good of a pass catcher as Amari DiMercato anyway. Notably, they both were terrible running the ball. They did not look good, either one of them, but Bam did get the goal line work, and Michael Carter got the pass catching work. So that's kind of what I expect their role might be for the next few weeks until Trey Benson gets back. And then maybe it's just even a grosser mess. I don't know.
That Colts defense is looking surprisingly okay. And they would be 6-0 right now if AD Mitchell hadn't dropped that ball on the goal line as well. So yeah, it's interesting season so far. Rico Dowdle is 63%, and you call him the Dowdler or Geezer Dowdle or the War Daddy. And he's had 473 yards and 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. But Dave Canales has not yet confirmed that he's even the starter when Chuba Hubbard returns. I think that this ends up being more of a split backfield than any fantasy player wants.
Yeah, I think that's very possible because Chuba Hubbard, who has looked good in recent years and usually goes overlooked, he was not doing very well to start the season. It wasn't bad. He just wasn't like it just wasn't noticeably great. Like it wasn't anything that says I'm going to keep the job after Rico Dowdle explodes for 2 weeks. Granted, these 2 matchups for Rico are 2 of the top 5 matchups you could possibly get for running back. So, but he took advantage of them, and that's what you do when you're a good, young, talented running back. Young as in he's been in the league. This is his 6th year, but still.
I will say that I think that this puts on the Panthers that they don't have to rush Chuba Hubbard back. If he's not back to 100%, and maybe he wasn't to start the year this year, and maybe that was most of the issues with Hubbard, they probably don't feel like they have to rush him at all to get back into this backfield.
Yep, absolutely fair. But like you said, for fantasy, keep riding Dowdle a little bit here. Watch the matchups, and you might be right. It might just be not a fun fantasy situation once Chuba's back.
All right, let's go over to the wide receiver position. And since all of the Buccaneers wide receivers are hurt, we got to talk about 3 other ones. Sterling Shepard, who's 7% rostered. That's a name you know. Cameron Johnson and Tez Johnson, not related, MVP, I believe.
MVP.
Both.
Did you hear that story about Tez
No.
Johnson? After he caught his touchdown pass, which was a deep pass that he fully extended for, and such a great catch. But I think it was his first touchdown. He starts hearing the MVP chants from the crowd, and a teammate had to tell him that's for Baker. It's not for you, because he thought he's like, I haven't done anything.
I don't understand this.
Why do I get MVP chants?
So the Bucks play the Lions on Monday night, and we already mentioned that it's possible that Mike Evans could be back as early as this week.
Yeah.
Cameron and Tez both scored last week, but no Bucks receiver in that game, including Emeka Egbuka, who got injured in the game, had more than 4 targets in that game. So my guess is if Mike Johnson's back, he's going to be the focal point again. And the rest of these guys are probably looking at 3 to 4 targets as Baker probably spreads the ball around.
Yep. That's absolutely the way I view it. I think Mike Evans, even if Mike Evans doesn't come back, Baker does spread the ball around a decent amount outside of his, stars when they're healthy. I think it's very possible any one of those 3 can have a big game. You're just not going to know which one.
Yeah. I don't have him on our list today, but honorable mention on this waiver wire episode to Cade Otton, who had 6 targets in that game. So he led all receivers and targets for the Bucks yesterday. He might be the guy, if Mike Evans is out, that you might want to pivot to as the lead target hog there. But I still don't think it's much more than like 6 or 7 targets for Otton in this one. Luke McCaffrey is 8% rostered. He scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 weeks, but he's only managed 7 catches on 9 targets in those 4 weeks. So it's touchdown or bust for Luke McCaffrey. Any interest there?
I mean, some if he's done his work with McLaurin out. So I think you just have to watch for what happens with McLaurin each week. But just like last week, he had 1 giant catch the week before, right? Like it was just 1 giant catch. That's something you can't really count too much on fantasy or in fantasy.
The wide receiver that most people are probably targeting is the guy we told you to pick up last week, and then the Thursday night before he went off, it's Kendrick Bourne. He caught 10 of 11 targets for 142 yards in week 5. He caught 5 of his 9 targets for 142 yards again last week. Juwan Jennings is on 5 broken ribs, high and low ankle sprains. He only managed 3 targets in that game. Now, they think that George Kittle's going to open his practice window this week, and he could be back as soon as this week. We don't know about Ricky Pearsall. We don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback because I know Mac Jones is banged up too. I think Kendrick Bourne is still in play here for the 49ers until we see everybody back and healthy.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. I think you nailed it on the head. He's worth having and owning a roster, and he might be good in the short term. It's going to be very questionable going forward after that, though.
Yeah. Last wide receivers we'll mention Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell. They're basically not on any rosters right now. Atwell missed last week with a hamstring injury, but Sean McVay says he's going to be good to go for this week for the Rams in London. And Whittington had a team high 92% of snaps last week and has had more snaps than Atwell in 5 of 6 games this year. This is a good matchup against the Jags this week, but then it's a bye week after that. So this feels like just a 1-week fill-in for Puka Nacua if he can't go, and you might have better options in later games.
Yeah, I'm probably not bothering with it. He could absolutely be the thing and go off. I know that McVay really liked him last year, but it could just be a giant Devontae Adams and Kyren Williams game as well, and spread around to the other ones. So I'm probably not
right there. All right, Harold Fannin, 35% rostered, 10 targets, 7 catches, 81 yards last week versus Pittsburgh. He scored a touchdown the week before. By the way, Dylan Gabriel threw the ball 52 times last week. And Dylan Gabriel's not throwing the ball downfield. He's throwing short balls over and over and over again. Harold Fannin's in a good spot as long as Dylan Gabriel's QB.
Yeah, and with Njoku's injury, we don't know how. Like, he came out in the fourth. I haven't heard anything new about it yet. But if he's limited games or even misses games, man, it could be wheels up for Fannin for a little bit here.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Another guy who's taking advantage of some injuries here, Michael Mayer, who's 3% rostered. I believe Trevor called this one on the Fantasy Football Almost Daily Fanball DFS show on Thursday. Mayer had 7 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a score last week against Tennessee, and they basically phased out Albert O and Ian Thomas completely after they both kind of registered some targets the week before. As long as Bowers is on the shelf, I think Mayer is startable, but that might only be one more week as the Raiders play the Chiefs and then they have their bye. And as I looked ahead, it's a super tough tight end schedule for the Raiders. 7 more games this year against top 10 tight end defenses.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah, and Bowers, like you kind of alluded to there, might be back after the bye. Might be a good 1 week, but yeah, it's probably not investing a lot of money for a potential 1 week. I didn't even know Albert Equibinum was still in the league, to be honest.
I didn't even know you could say his name so casually.
Well, when you said Albert O, I'm like, what? He's still
he's still around. I think that what I learned after looking up Michael Mayer stats and what the schedule ahead is, I think it's time to trade Brock Bowers for like 70 cents on the dollar right now in like redraft leagues. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, especially if he deals with this hyperextended knee issue thing for the rest of the season. If he doesn't let it fully heal before he tries to play through it, that'd be interesting. That is a tough schedule.
Yeah. Finally, last guy I'll mention, Dawson Knox, 3% rostered. He caught a 19-yard touchdown pass for his only catch last night. And that was with Kincaid on the shelf. But the Bills are on bye this week, and I believe that Kincaid will be back next week. So I think that there's nothing here.
Kincaid was even a later scratch. He practiced all last week limited. So you give him 2 weeks till his next game, or another week to you know what I mean, with the bye. Basically 2 weeks till his next game. I'm not worried about that. I've been fooled by Knox too many times too.
I got to think that the Bills are probably feeling a little puckered up right now after losing 2 straight. They're probably going to want to go, okay, Dalton, we kind of need you in the lineup in week 8 here. So they're going to ice him up, rest him, and elevate him back onto the field.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not spending any money on Dawson Knox.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Scott, for your insights. It was a pretty quick show this week, and I just wanted to remind everybody to win your share of $750,000 in guaranteed cash prizes in free roll contests this NFL regular season over at Game Blazers. If you have a LeagueSafe account and you use the code LeagueSafe when you sign up for a Game Blazers account, they'll give you $50 worth of packs for free. Just for free. Here you go. Here's $50. It includes some rare packs. So hey, go get them. It's a fun way to play. I've been playing it in our internals the last couple of weeks. I've had a good time with it. All right, Fish, anything that you want to plug or promote before we get going?
Not really. I mean, if you feel so inclined, fantasycares.org is an awesome charity. We do a lot of things. Most notably, coming up in about a month, we'll be going out toy shopping for kids around Christmas time in partnership with Toys for Tots. We go shopping with the Marines. It's in like 20 plus different cities. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to throw a few bucks in the pot to go buy those toys, fantasycares.org. We'll have some campaigns coming up as well. And maybe consider talking to your league about donating one of its entry fees to charity. It's a lot of leagues out there. We can do a lot of good if each one does that.
Absolutely. It's a great cause, and I really encourage everybody to check out Fantasy Cares and donate if you have the means to. All right. Thanks, Scott Fish. This was Matt Harrison. We'll be back for the next Fantasy Football Almost Daily tomorrow, maybe.